Anyway, moving on to basketball. The one thing this has done, this hire, intentionally or unintentionally, has delivery guys delivering package, the old watchdog back here. Ain't too happy about it. Is kind of overshadowed what I think by most standards is a slow start, to put it mildly, for Carolina basketball. So coming off a loss, 5th loss of the season, dropping 6-5 against Florida. Not going to lie, man, I was fading fast. Made it through the first half. Wife's trying to wake me up early in the second, like, dude, you need to wake up, man. I'm coming back here. And I was, I didn't quite make it, but I did check the highlights and everything. And this is what I'll say before I toss this over to you. I think if you ask any Carolina fan, you're definitely starting to get, and maybe rightfully so, pretty concerned. However, we have losses against number 4 Auburn, probably the best team in the country. You've said it many times. Michigan State, kind of bad loss, 3-point loss in a weird setting. Alabama, first game back from Hawaii, great team. I think they're better than their rank. And Florida. And also, of course, 3-point loss at Kansas. So if you just kind of look at this in a vacuum, I mean, the silver lining is, aside from really the Alabama game, I mean, even the Auburn game, I think they stretched it out a little bit closer to the end. It was pretty handily won game by Auburn. But, it ain't like we're getting just eviscerated out here, and we're shooting poorly. We're getting off to these terrible starts. It feels like there's a potential to turn this around. It just feels like a long shot that it happens at this point. So I ask you, I mean, what do you feel about the current state of the team? How do you feel about the team right now? And where do they go going into UCLA?
Sleep. Right now, if I'm a player in that locker room, this is as close as you get to pulling the fire alarm. And what I mean by that is you are hungry for a win, okay? You're at the point in the season where, listen, we have not met expectations from ourselves, from the media, from outside. And listen, these kids, they hear it from, their classmates, school, campus, media, social media now. Now's the time to put all that aside, and you guys stick with the voices in the locker room. You've got to be tight, okay? You've got to be with each other, because you know what? You guys are all you have. No one else is going to, give you any type of positivity or look at you through a positive light right now, because we have underwhelmed this far,
those people's expectations.
Yeah. And Sleep. So let's just look at it. We've lost to 4 top 10 teams. And I respect the strength of schedule. We've played, our strength of schedule is up there with anybody. We've lost to 4 of the top 10 teams. I mean, there's something to be said about that. But we have lost 4 of the last 6 games. So we're going through a tough, stretch right now. Our net ranking, which is put out from the NCAA, they use all these mathematical equations and numbers, is 45. And so I value their ranking just because they have a lot to do with who gets in the tournament, who doesn't, stuff like that. So I look at the net ranking put out from the NCAA, we're 45. And I will say our best win right now is against Dayton, which is a quad 1 win. So there's value to that. And I think Dayton's very good, by the way. They've been up there with a lot of top programs recently. I really like their head coach, Anthony Grant, as well. He's done a good job. But this is panic mode time. And the reason I say that is because the ACC is the least toughest conference of all the top conferences out there in college basketball. We are weak this year. There's not a lot of quality wins to be had in the ACC play. Duke and Clemson are pretty much the only 2 tournament teams, in my opinion, looking at the ACC as a whole. And, with this schedule, we're hoping to at least, you would hope to get maybe a couple of these big-time wins. Like the Kansas game would have been big. Even, sneaking one out against Bama at home after you lost to, in Maui would have been crucial. But right now, this team has a lot of issues, and I think they need to stay in the locker room. And tactically, what needs to happen, Sleep, and this is a glaring issue, and it's just like, it's almost like, one of these things that we deal with every single game. And I'm watching them. I'm almost turning the TV off. I get so mad. We take these haymakers to start every single game. It's like going into a boxing match, and just getting destroyed and letting the other guy you're fighting just hit you 10 times in the face. You can't do that. You can't come out here and get in the hole against these top quality teams. We're not that good. And even if we do have a good game, and some of these top teams like Auburn, Alabama, they play well, they're going to beat us a majority of the time because they're a better team. So we can't be destructive to ourselves and put ourselves in a bad situation. We've got to fix the starts. I've said that for a while now. You can't come out and start the games the way we have. And the most frustrating part is a lot of it looks like it is energy. And sometimes it looks like, we're not there when the ball goes up the tip. Listen, whatever you need to do, I don't know, at this point I suggested tweaking the starting lineup. We've done that. I mean, we've tweaked it so much. We're at the point where, you tweak it anymore, guys are going to start like maybe losing their confidence.
Losing their hair.
This is on those guys. Listen, respect the game. You got to start it with energy. You got to come out to play, and you got to compete to win. Okay, you can't sleepwalk your way to a win against some of these top teams. And, I'll just use this as an example. Every major loss or every loss that we've had, we've been down by double digits in the first half. And so if you look at this, I put this down right here, Sleep Dog. So against Kansas, we're down 20 in the first. Can't do that against them in Fall Gallon, expect to win. Auburn, we're down 19 in the first. Can't do that against arguably the best team in college basketball. Michigan State, we're only down 14 in the first, which is a miracle. And then against Alabama, we were down 18 in the first. Felt like a lot more. And against Florida, we were down 17 in the first. And, even to start the game, I'm on I was texting with Sleep. I was just like, man, like Florida's buckets, they look like they're getting them within the offense. It looks like guys know where to go. They're passing, sharing the ball. Compared to what we're shooting, it's like hard shot, contested, almost hero basketball. And, I just, I don't understand as a team who is dying for a win and has lost a few games recently, how you start the game the way you did. And, I don't have the answer. I wish I did, Sleep, and it's probably why I'm not a coach, but I will say that is a glaring issue that needs to be fixed. But I will say the positives from, what I saw against Florida is RJ Davis played unbelievable. He played like the player that we kind of thought he would be this year. And so if we get more of that, I'm encouraged. And the other players in Jackson, and we both love him. We love his game. He's athletic. He took over in the second. And I thought what he did was impressive. And I will just say this, whoever's listening, if anybody's listening, we can't expect him to repeat what he did against Florida. That's called hero basketball. Okay, those shots, that's not, something that players, he was in the rhythm. He was feeling it. He was taking heat checks and just knocking them down, and his confidence was going. When you get a player of that level in rhythm, their confidence is up. Listen, I mean, I've seen some of the best just go off. And going forward, I would, Sleep, I want to see Ian get more minutes. I think he's shown some competitiveness. I really like the way he's playing. And I think more minutes and maybe a little bit, hey, you know what? You make some mistakes. Maybe we'll play you a little bit more just because that's going to build his confidence. And if this team wants a chance, I think that Ian and Drake have to be a big part of this team. I think that we're going to have to find out or find ways to have them in the game. We can talk about all the issues as far as we don't have the size, we don't have the front court, all that stuff. Listen, that's an easy out because as a whole, we haven't played well. Like, you can blame the front court, but listen, the back court really hasn't been overwhelming. We haven't shot the ball well. We're a bad offensive rebounding team. We take a lot of shots and we play fast, so we should be a higher offensive rebounding team. That just means that we're not taking quality shots. But right now, Sleep, I'm in panic mode if I'm a player, and I'm really locked into the team in the locker room and what they're saying and how we can improve. And I'm viewing this next game. I hate must wins. I hate when people say, oh, it's a must win. Well, what if we lose? What happens? We're going to play again, right? This is a must win because I really feel like this could give us a little bit of momentum and also a win that we need before heading into conference play. Because if we go into conference play and we lose to some of these weak teams in the ACC, I mean, we're already running the risk of possibly missing the tournament. And we need a quality win, and we need to take care of these weak conference teams, which conference play, it's hard to get a win. I don't care how weak it is. But that's the current state, Sleep. That's where I'm at with this team. I know I was a little bit negative, but listen, we can turn it around. It's still early in the year. We can get this right, and we can still end it on a good, positive note and have a great year.
I mean, your point, on one hand, we're only 11 games in. On another hand, and you're a third of the way through the season, and all your opportunities to build your resume are behind you. I mean, with a weaker ACC this year, you bring up a great point. It's a big challenge to get, signature wins. You're relying a lot on other people that are in front of you. The point about Ian Jackson, I think Ian Jackson right now is the best player on the team, period. And that's the thing. I think that, look, I understand. I'm far from a coach, so this is just a outsider, fan perspective. You got to get him more minutes. I mean, the kid's the most efficient 3-point shooter we have, one of the more efficient offensive players. You can get to the bucket. He's strong, plays with energy. Fans love him, that sort of stuff. I mean, you got to figure out a way to get this kid on the floor. I don't know plus minuses or anything like that, but, and then the other silver lining is RJ hasn't been RJ. I mean, kid's shooting 37% of the field, 25% from three. Those are bad numbers. He's getting to the line. He's doing all these other things to help the team, And for RJ, those are bad, borderline abysmal numbers. So you got to think if RJ goes out and just plays like a normal player, shoots 43% and, 30%, 32% from three, right? Really changes the dynamic of the team. I think it also, he's a barometer, right? As he goes, everybody else goes. Now he's adept at the best part about RJ is when he's not shooting well, A, he's not afraid to keep shooting, and B, he's not afraid to get to the basket and get to the line. I mean, he leads the team in scoring. You tell you a guy that shoots 37% and 25% is averaging 19 a game, Thady says, he's taking a lot of shots, or he's finding other ways, to help the team. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, almost 2 steals a game. This is college basketball. Those are big numbers, big enough, right? So, and then one other point I wanted to make on the strength of schedule is that the upside of the strength of schedule is self-explanatory, right? We played a lot of great teams. However, Memphis, top 25, their 6th strength of schedule. Auburn, top 5, their 7th strength of schedule. Purdue, top 25, they're 8. Bama, top 25, they're 12. Gonzaga, top 25, they're 18. San Diego State, top 25, they're 21. Duke, top 5, they're 22. Kansas, best team, top 5 team, they're 29. Right? Carolina's 5th, so they're above all those teams. But there's a lot of teams in the strength of schedule that are just punching bags. So, the pantheon of the teams, the contenders that are in the strength of schedule conversation, Carolina's on the outside looking in. Everybody else in the top 25, and we're 6-5. Look, I don't think it's the end of the road by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think you got to start thinking, and this brings me to my question to you is as a team, right? It's always, hey, next game, play a game in front of you, I would imagine, that sort of thing. But does it start to creep in? Hey, when does a tournament start to become, whether it's a focal point, which I would highly doubt anyone would at least admit that, the Hubert's going and say, man, you guys better beat UCLA. We're gonna miss the tournament, right? But does it start to creep in the locker room, in a conversation, in practice, or at what point, from your perspective, does that pressure add to the mix?
Sleep, it's kind of one of those things where you don't even have to bring it up. And, with this team, I'm starting to think maybe we should actually address that. And you always hate to look ahead just because it is a little bit of a distraction from the upcoming game, and you're kind of bypassing that in some way. But also, I think in this situation, it shows the importance of this game and how bad we need to win. I don't care what this game looks like. I don't care if it's 2-1 UNC on Saturday in the Garden. Possible, but I just want us to win. I don't care what it looks like. In Sleep, we need a win because, we just talked about it. I mean, the season could go south. We need to get some of these wins against some of these top teams and have a quality resume coming up soon, because the conference, we're not going to have that outside of Clemson and Duke. But right now, if I'm the team in the locker room, I wouldn't address it. And just to be honest with you, just because this team needs to focus on itself so much right now, because in all honesty, they are not playing like a tournament team. They need to figure out how to start these games with energy and better defense. Like, you got to put pressure on these teams from the start. You got to come out there with energy. You know, you can't keep taking haymakers from teams. And you got to figure that out. I don't care what solves it. And I think a lot of it, you just got to come out there and play hard from the start. I don't know if, for me personally, I would try to add something to the warm-up routine where I'm sweating when I'm already heading to that, for the ball toss, the tip-off to start the game.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, that I observe, right, is like, look, you're a team that seems very reliant on shooting, perimeter shooting, and it's easy to get yourself in a hole when shots aren't going in. And shots ain't been going in a lot. I mean, we are dreadful from three as a team. I mean, awful. Shooting 30% as a team, 31% as a team from three, and we shoot a lot of threes. So, it's I'm with you on that. It's just, I don't think the season is lost, but I think if you have this conversation 2 weeks from now, and we hadn't really turned much around. I mean, we got some winnable games aside from UCLA on the schedule, but they don't do anything for your resume. I don't think a 3-point loss at Kansas hurts you. Right? I think that probably actually helps you. A win would really help, but
yeah, Sleep. Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good.
I just don't think you get credit for keeping it close, and I think that's what we've been too optimistic. Like, there's a switch, okay, like keeping it close and staying in the fight versus actually winning it and getting that dub says so much more about a team. And, to your point about our 3-point shooting and why it's so bad, is that's probably a good example to use that we're not shooting good quality shots. We're maybe settling for jump shots. And this is not a knock, but outside of RJ, we have a bunch of unproven shooters right now. Why would you play into the hands of the defense? And if I'm playing Carolina and I had to pick how I want them to play, it'd probably be shoot contested 3-point shots, because I know they're probably going to miss them, and we're going to have an advantage on the boards because we are one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in college basketball. And, the analytics show that, but the reason why it's such a little deceiving, even though it does prove that we're a bad offensive rebounding team, we shoot a lot of shots and we play fast. So there's a lot more offensive rebounding opportunities compared to other teams. That's just why we're so bad. And listen, a lot of times rebounding has nothing to do with length or size. It has to do with more a want to and pursuit in getting it, Sleep. And, back to your point, we've got to figure out how to get better shots within some type of rhythm or quality buckets in some type of offense. And we're not doing that right now. And that's a great point you brought up.
We have no one on the team that averages 5 rebounds a game. So, yeah, I mean, it's not impossible to turn it around. I think if you could personify the team in one game, if they played the last half of the season or whatever's left of the season, like they played the last half of the the Florida game. Look, so showed a lot of fight there. And that I will say is like, as a team that's, really spinning its wheels, really trying to get going, that said something about the makeup, the team in there. So, dude, I think we're two of the biggest Tar Heel fans that ever existed. So this is like, you kind of
from a fan perspective,
brutal honesty, you know what I mean, to some extent, but like we all see it. So look, you're not going to be undefeated every single year, and winning national championships is hard. So look, I think we got some great pieces on the team, and I just hope we can put it together.